Okay, welcome everyone. Nice to see you. We have a guest Shir presenter today, Avishai. You say hi. We're going to do a very short Rashi. No school, lots of kids around, and lots of noise, but we'll try to just do a short Rashi for today, for Thursday, from the fifth Aliyah. We continue in the description of the construction of the Mishkan itself, the structure of the Mishkan. Before in tomorrow's Aliyah, we go back to some of the other vessels of the Mishkan. But our Aliyah today continues on from yesterday, where it talked about the krashim, the beams, the yurios, the curtains, the whole structure of the courtyard itself, to speaking about the paroches. Vasisa paroches, techeles v'argaman, tola shani v'sheish, moshtar, maaseh choshev, yaseh osa kruvim. They make a paroches, which Rashi says lashon mechitzahu. It's the language of a separation, of a curtain. They used to make, they made a curtain that separated between the Kodesh HaKodashim and the rest of the Heichal, which was made of all these different colors and materials, and it had kruvim on it, just like the Aron had kruvim on top of it. So to this paroches had embroidered kruvim on it as well. Now, I would imagine that the purpose of the paroches was to delineate different spaces within the Mishkan, and to add further decoration to the Mishkan, just like the elaborate yerios that we read about in yesterday's Aliyah. But Rashi adds one twist, which I thought was particularly interesting, and I wanted to mention it today as something that we could think about. He says, Lashon mechitzahu, the paroches is a language of a mechitza, a separation. Uvelashon chachamim pargod, and in Chazal and Gemaras, it's called a pargod, the famous line in the piyut of Eila Eskara, which we say on Yom Kippur. We say the piyut of the Asara Haruge Malchus. On Tisha B'Av, it's Eila Ezkara. On Yom Kippur, we say a similar one. So it says in there, Shamati Ma'acharei HaPargod. They say that we heard Hashem saying behind the pargod, behind the curtain, so to speak, whatever Hashem was saying over there about the Jewish people. So that's where the language of pargod comes here, from separation, from the paroches. But then Rashi ends with a few interesting words. He says, Davar hamavdil bein hamelech ubein ha'am. I would have expected the end of the Rashi to be Davar hamavdil bein kodesh hakodashim lakodesh, bein hakohanim la'am, something like that. Delineation of different spaces which are separated by this mechitza. Delineation of different people separated by this mechitza. People who can go in certain area of the mikdash and not in other areas of the mikdash. I would have expected this separation to be a practical one, designating different spaces within the Mishkan. But actually what Rashi says is the purpose of the paroches was a symbolic separation as well. And that was the separation between the melech and the am, between the king and the people. I think what Rashi is perhaps hinting to over here is that in constructing a home for Hashem, Hashem commanding us to asuli mikdash, to build this Mishkan, the ultimate mikdash, we could have easily been deluded into thinking that, okay, we're the balabatim on this house. We're the owners of this home, right? We're building a home. God will be invited in, and he'll come into our space in the home that we built. Because after all, we collected the money, we donated the money, we built the Mishkan, we used our design capabilities. So maybe it's like our home, and we can be very comfortable, and hopefully God will enter it as well. But we always have to remember that that's incorrect, that of course this is Hashem's home and we're entering his space. And to create that reminder, to create that notion that there is a melech in this space, that it's the melech space and we are just the am coming as visitors, there had to be a paroches, there had to be a separation, a curtain that separated different areas, not just because the areas were different in the Mishkan and the people that could go there were different, but because we had to recognize that this is not entirely our space. That there's a point at which we stop because this is Hashem's house. And that as close as we feel to him, as close as we are to him because of the mitzvahs and because of the Torah and because of this space that we created where we can meet, so to speak, there is still a separation and there is still a level of awe, of yira, of distance that has to be created between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this paroches was meant as a tool towards that effect, as a tool towards reminding us of that much needed separation, and of a dose of humility for us to realize that as great as we are in partnering with Hashem, Hashem is still, of course, leaps and bounds above us in an entirely different realm. Something to think about as we implement that in our own life in terms of the distance we feel is Hashem is much greater than it did in the Mishkan. We feel the opposite. We feel so much distance that we have to create closeness. But in the Mishkan, it was the opposite. They felt so much closeness that they had to create the distance. But even in our own lives, we do have to find that balance as well between feeling close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and recognizing the distance as well. Have a great day, everybody, and
Thank
we'll see
you.
you Hashem tomorrow. Stay safe.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Be
Thank
well.
Have a
you.
great
Have a good day,
day.
Rabbi.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Rabbi. Thanks
You're
for your
welcome.
teacher.
Thanks.
Thanks. Avishai, say goodbye.
Thank you, Avishai.
Bye-bye.